article I'm presenting today is entitled Responding to Reading Comprehension Needs of Adolescents with Severe Reading Disabilities. The article focuses on a program developed by the University of Kansas Center for Research for Learning. The program was developed to try and close the gap between students with reading disabilities and those without. According to the article, 63% of students with reading disabilities read below the basic level on the National Assessment for Reading Progress Reading Assessment Test. According to the article, 63% of students with reading disabilities read below the basic level on the National Assessment of Education Progress of Reading Assessment Test. The program was specifically designed for 6th to 8th grade special education students with IEPs and for other struggling readers. The program developed by the University of Kansas was entitled the Fusion Reading Program. It was designed to be implemented within the classroom every single day for at least one class period. The program was developed into a 45-minute class period schedule, a 60-minute class period schedule, and a 90-minute class period schedule. All the students who were chosen to be a part of the program were reading at least 2 grade levels below the grade level they were in. The major goals of the program were to increase student motivation, increase engagement, and then increase their reading outcomes. The 2 primary components of the Fusion Reading Program are word recognition and linguistic comprehension. Word recognition was used to teach students decoding, fluency, and phonics skills and strategies, where linguistic comprehension was used to help students in their predicting, their summarizing, and their higher leverage reading skills when taking standardized tests. A major benefit to the Fusion Reading Program is that it is fully developed and fully inclusive. So when a teacher uses this in her classroom, it comes with 3 student workbooks and 7 teacher workbooks, and all of the material is included within that package. To better understand the Fusion Reading Program, the article broke it down into 4 main areas: scope and sequence, assessment system, instructional methodology, and then lesson format and daily schedules. The first major area of the Fusion Reading Program is scope and sequence. Scope and sequence is important because the gap between the students with disabilities and the students without disabilities is so large. The teachers need to know where their students are coming from to be able to adequately assess them and move forward within the program. Scope and sequence can be broken down into 7 major parts. The first is establish the course, followed by prediction strategy, followed by possible selves, bridging strategy, strategy instruction, summarization strategy, and then the pass strategy. Establish the course comes first, and this is when the teacher provides an overview of what the students will be learning. She gives the students expectations, she outlines the entire coursework, discusses what they're going to be learning, how they're going to be learning it, and when they're going to be learning it, and provides a general foundation to build upon throughout the rest of the program. Prediction strategy focuses on helping students learn how to preview a text and make predictions based on their previews. It teaches students how to activate their background knowledge when looking at a new text to see where they stand on the text and how to preview it to make better and more accurate predictions. Possible selves for readers is designed to serve as individual interests from the students. The teachers in this part take interest in what their students like to do and helps establish a plan for the Fusion Reading Program later on. So here the teacher would talk to the student, find out what he or she likes, and develop a program that is built more around that so that the student will be more engaged within the program. The bridging strategy introduces instruction in advanced phonics, decoding, and word recognition and reading fluency. So when the bridging strategy occurs, the students are moving on to more and more advanced steps. Strategy integration, the students develop fluent use of multiple strategies previously learned. So with strategy integration, the students have more opportunity to practice the things that they've previously learned and more advanced text, and then they move on to the summarization strategy, which is where the students work on how to summarize a text. They work with the teacher and then individually to promote their learning. The students preview a text, make predictions, go read through the text, outline it, use their decoding, their phonics, and their fluency skills, and then they try to summarize it. The last part of scope and sequence consists of the pass strategy, and this strategy mainly focuses on students developing standardized testing strategies. So here the teachers are working with the students on everything that they have learned throughout the program and applying it to a standardized test. The third part of the Fusion Reading Program is instructional methodology. A big component of this part is that the Fusion Reading program relies heavily on explicit instruction. Information and data from the article showed that if the Fusion Reading program was followed exactly, gone through step by step with the daily instruction, the daily methodologies, the daily activities, 98% of students showed great improvement. So it goes to show that this program is extremely beneficial not only for the teachers but for the students, and that the gap between the students with reading disabilities and those without was closed in the schools where this was implemented. Typical 90-minute schedule that you would use every day, once a day with students. So it begins with the 5-minute warm-up. In the 5-minute warm-up, students would typically do an individual thinking reading exercise. In thinking reading, students silently read a text and then answer questions about that text. Then they would move to a 20-minute thinking reading. This thinking reading is class-wide with the teacher and with all the students involved. Here, the class reads a text orally all together, and then they have a class-wide discussion about the structure of the text, what the author meant from the text, any part of the text that was confusing, and they just go over the whole text as a class. From there, they move to a 40-minute explicit strategy instruction. No matter what the daily class schedule is like, the explicit strategy instruction is always the longest part of the class. Here, students practice and apply the strategies that they have been learning throughout the Fusion Reading program in texts and practice tests and in other manners. So this is where the students really get to know and get to practice what they're learning. They see where they're struggling, the teacher sees where they're struggling, and they can modify the instruction for the next day's lesson. Then there is a 20-minute vocabulary learning activity. Here, students and teachers have a discussion about vocabulary words that were unfamiliar in the text. So they go back and reread through the text, and if the student has any questions about the vocabulary words, he or she and the teacher will go through and discuss these words. And then the students will write down the words and make it a note to learn what these words really mean. The schedule ends with a 5-minute wrap-up. Here the students' work is summarized, the teacher goes over the lesson for the next day, and then there are progress charts that are filled out. And these progress charts are super important for the teacher because, again, it shows where the students are and where they need to be going for the next day's instruction. This is only one example of the schedule. The program was designed for a 45, a 60, or 90-minute block schedule. The only thing that changes is the time frame that you spend with each activity. But it is important, again, to remember that the explicit strategy instruction is the most important part of the schedule because this is where the students practice the skills that they have learned. Another great benefit to the Fusion Reading program is that it follows closely to the Common Core state standards. So this program could be implemented across a ton of schools throughout the nation because it is following the national educational program that we are using right now. In conclusion, it is important to remember that while this program is extremely helpful to those students with reading disabilities, not every student is going to react to the program the same. Some students may take more than 1 year of learning and teaching to be able to reach the benchmark level that they need to be at. This program is just the first step in helping them move on and develop their reading comprehension skills. Another thing to remember is that teachers play a critical role in the effectiveness of this program. The article states that for this program to be extremely beneficial to the students, the teachers need to follow this program directly. Each step is sequential, logical, and very important. The teachers cannot edit the program, and they cannot skip any part of the program because it was designed for a very specific way. The daily schedules must be followed, the activities must be followed, and the way that they teach these programs need to be followed. I would use this program in my own classroom because after reading this article, I can see the effectiveness it has on students who are struggling with reading disabilities, and I believe that it is a very good first step in assessing and teaching reading comprehension skills to those types of students.